Hello and welcome. I'm Kathleen Petticord. Welcome to this episode of our Retired Overseas podcast. I am delighted today to have a guest, Barbara Grassey, who is joining us from a point on the earth that we have long spotlighted as one of the best places in the world to live or retire overseas. And we've been spotlighting this part of the world for 15 years or more. And it is as lovely as ever. It is as tempting a choice as ever. It has as much to offer as ever. And so I'm just really delighted to be able to dig in with Barbara to life in the Algarve, Portugal. If you're a longtime reader, you know that we love Portugal. We love especially the Algarve for lots of reasons that we'll talk about. So welcome, Barbara.
Well, thank you for having me on. This is great to get to actually put a face with a name. So thank you, Kathy.
Well, great to meet you. Okay, you are right now in your home in the Algarve. Tell us exactly where you are. I think you're near Tavira.
I am. I'm in Santa Luzia, which is a small fishing village just to the west of east, just to the west of Tavira. So I'm about 5 kilometers outside of Tavira. You can actually walk in. People do it all the time and walk back. And I'm right on, my apartment is on what they call the front. And the front is the main street of town. And then we have the Tavira Channel. And then we have the barrier islands of the Ria Formosa. So I can look out over the channel, and in the summertime, not the winter, but in the summertime, I can actually see the Atlantic.
Very nice. But let's back up. If you wouldn't mind, tell us, let's back up and tell us of all the times in your lifetime to move to another country, that was maybe one of the most challenging. So how did that timing come to be?
It really was a perfect time to move, though I didn't know it at the time. But in the early days of COVID, and I had been planning on moving to Europe for years, for decades. I would have bucket lists, and on every bucket list going back for 20, 30 years, it said move to Europe, live in Europe. And so when COVID hit and people were dying, we didn't know what caused it. And it was a frightening time. And I thought to myself, I don't want to die without living in Europe. And so I had been planning to make a scouting trip to come over, and everything locked down. So I couldn't do the scouting trip. I was planning that for July of 2020, and everything locked down, and it was a matter of now or never. And I just made it now.
You were very brave. That took a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to make this move, period. But to make it at that time when the world was really in the midst of a crisis, but a lot of uncertainty. What was tomorrow going to look like in any given spot on the globe? And so you showed up. Where did you move from in the United States?
I'd been living on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Okay. And I had my landlords decided to sell their condo right in the middle of the lockdowns. So there's some timing for you. Right. So my housemate at the time moved up to a university town. I let the condo go and I went and stayed at, my cousin has a condo up just north of Tampa. So it was a great little spot for about 6 months where I could, when you move, you just get rid of everything you possibly can. And for people who are thinking about moving abroad, get rid of everything. That's like, just get rid of it. So I moved my stuff up to my cousin's condo, and over the course of the next few months while I was applying for my visa, I just was trying to get rid of as much as possible. And I got rid of a lot. I'm very proud.
So can I ask, which residency path did you pursue?
Well, I got the D7 visa, which is the passive income visa. I had turned 62, and I think I was just turning 62. So I took early retirement. And so that was March of 2020. And because I took early retirement, my Social Security was not as much as if I had waited. So at that point, that was a decision I had to make because I didn't have passive income. And I needed to show passive income to get the visa. So here's a decision I have to make. Do I take the money now and not get as much, right? And at that point, people were dying. So I was like, I'm going to take the money now. Who knows what's going to happen? Right. So I have enough Social Security that it covers what's necessary for
Great. So you qualified for, it's the D7.
Yeah.
We refer to it as the self-sufficiency visa, and
Ah,
many countries offer them. And each country has its own financial requirement and other requirements, but the country sets a minimum income that you must
right.
be able to prove through some guaranteed source. And Social Security
Exactly.
qualifies as a
Social
guaranteed source.
Security,
And
veterans, disability, that sort of thing.
exactly, or any kind of pension, a police pension, a teacher's pension. So each country is different. Some countries allow you to put money into a savings account to qualify,
Right.
for example. But so for Portugal, your Social Security was enough to meet their financial income requirement,
Right.
which is about, it varies with the exchange rate, et cetera, but it's about $1,500 a month is what we
It's actually
normally
a little bit,
reference.
yeah, I mean, that's a good number to give people. It's 870 euro right now. And with the fluctuations of the exchange rate, it's about $1,100. Yeah.
Okay. So 1,500 is on the high side. We try to be very
You want to
conservative.
be on the high side. That's very
Exactly.
good advice.
And so, okay, but still 1,500, 1,400, that is well less than the current average Social Security check. So
Yeah.
most retirees with Social Security will meet the Portugal requirement that way.
Exactly. And I cannot live on my Social Security alone. And I'm not that, like, I'm kind of cheap to keep, but but I do like good scotch. So so for me, I've got a passive income visa which qualified me to get in, but I still work. And I work remotely with clients in the United States.
Do you have a car? Have you bought a car?
No, I don't have a car. I have friends with cars. It's almost as good as having friends with boats. But I did get an electric scooter. It's like a little Vespa.
Mm-hmm.
And learning how to ride a scooter in your 60s is interesting. She says, rubbing her shoulder. I wiped out a couple of times. And sometimes...
Well, good thing you have that good health insurance.
Well, it was so funny because one time I was coming around the roundabout going to my doctor, and there was sand or maybe oil in the road, and the rear wheel just kind of scooted out from underneath me, and I laid it down. And I sound tough, don't I? I just laid the scooter down. But I got into the doctor's office. I'm like, "Can you fix me?" He's like, "Yeah, come here." so it was good timing if you're going to fall off your scooter. If you're going to the
parking lot of the doctor's office.
It was perfect, actually.
Have you bought your apartment where you're living, or are you renting?
I'm a renter, and I don't know if I would ever buy. I've been renting. I was in real estate. Let me put it this way. I was a landlord. I've owned houses, but I'm 68 now. I am not into fixing things. I am no longer crawling under sinks to check the plumbing. And I like having a landlord. This place came furnished, which was lovely because I didn't have to bring furniture or get furniture. And it's just worked out well for me. My last apartment in the States was a rental. So once I got out of ownership, I was more than happy to let somebody else have those problems.
Well, that's a great perspective. And that's the point we make. Buying property as an investment is one thing. And if you're looking to build a portfolio, to diversify your portfolio by buying property in other countries, that's great. And that is an agenda we wholeheartedly endorse. And I think makes more sense right now than ever. But if you're going to live somewhere, not necessarily. As you described, being a renter leaves you freer, more flexible. You aren't, if you decide you want to try out a different town, a different part of Portugal, a different neighborhood, even in the same part of Portugal, you don't have all the hassle of, well, then I've got to sell, and then should I buy again? As soon as your lease is up, you're free to maybe, try something else on for size.
I'm really hoping I never have to move. I'm hoping they have to cart my body out of here.
Well, that is one of my questions. So thank you. You feel like you're at home for good? You've found your forever place.
And someone was asking me, it's like, how did you know you wanted to live here? It's like, you feel a vibe. And I know that's such a woo-woo type of thing. But I met up with a lady who was thinking of moving here, and she's been to Lisbon and Porto and Sagres and, all over Portugal. And she's like, I'm just not feeling it. And I said, then it's not for you.
Exactly.
It's okay, because the people who get it are so happy here. And some people come and they're not happy here. And that's okay too. Exactly. You tried it, you didn't like it. You might like France. You might like Italy. You might like Panama. And that's why they make chocolate and vanilla. Everybody has their own.
Exactly. And I love that point because, we talk about spreadsheeting your new life and going through all of the categories of questions and issues you need to address. And you need to do all that work and decide, everything from budget to your residency path and on and on. Are you going to buy or rent a home? And all those questions and all of that can be put down on paper. But then you show up in the place. You've got to put your feet on the ground there. And you'll have an instinctive reaction as you're describing. And for most people, it'll be quick. You'll love the place, or you'll think, why would anyone live here? I don't get it. I don't get this at all.
I don't get it. Yeah. And that's okay because you just haven't found your spot yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we say pay more attention to that instinctive gut response than to, and because we've had people say, but it checks all my boxes. It's where I should live. But that's not the same as where you are happy living, as a place that makes you happy.
Exactly. And I've lived in some really great places. I spent 2 years out in Hawaii, which is absolutely, it would check all the boxes. It's perfect, except you're on a rock like 5,000 miles away from everybody. I can jump on a plane and be back to my family in Boston in 7 hours or so, maybe 10. Right. So, plus time zones.
Did you consider anywhere other than Portugal? How did you choose Portugal?
My first thought, if you really want to go back to when I was 10 years old, it was Scotland. So, and then I went to Scotland in 2001 and found out just how cold Scotland is.
The weather is not nearly as nice as the Algarve. Yeah.
Not nearly. So then I was looking for a warm place in Southern Europe. And my next thought was Italy because my father's parents had come from Italy. So, okay, return to your roots. And their requirements for passive income were above what I make passively. So I was not going to qualify there. I can probably go through the process and get citizenship by being a descendant. I probably won't bother. It's a process. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a friend who's a digital nomad, and she had ended up in Mérida, Mexico. And she said, take a look at Portugal. And so I did. And I was like, And it took me back. I was like, I could do Portugal.
Well, for so long, right? Not sorry to interrupt you, but for so long, Portugal was the undiscovered secret of Europe. Until recently now, I would say Portugal is pretty much on the radar of most Americans thinking about the idea of living or retiring to Europe. But for a long, long time, until not too many years ago, that wasn't the case. Americans would think of France, Italy, Ireland even, but not Portugal. So that was a great recommendation.
Yeah, she was a sharp girl. And she had been all over. She'd been a digital nomad, so Thailand and Chile and God knows where else. But this was I did not know coming here. I had no idea that it would be such a perfect fit for me. And as it turns out, Barbara is a very common name in Portugal.
So how come the Algarve? Did you choose that right away?
I chose that before I ever got here because I knew it was the warmest spot. And this is my driver in life is I have to be warm. Once I got here, I chose Albufeira because it was about central in the Algarve. I could go east, I could go west. But I learned that the eastern Algarve was slightly warmer, important, and less windy. So I started checking to the east, and we went to probably Vilamora and Lule, which is fun. And I spent a month in Olhão, which is a town that's really coming up. It's an interesting little town. And it was a working class town, but now they're kind of resortifying it. They have a Mexican restaurant. Like Mexican restaurants become very important to you here. And when my friend and I hit Tavera, we walked around and we just went, wow, this is it. So to the point where she wanted to sell her resort condo in Vilamora and find a fixer-upper in Tavera. I'm like, no, do not do that.
Another question I want to ask is, who do you think it would be the right kind of person, if we can say that, to think about moving to Portugal? And I think for the right kind of person, or the person for whom this is going to work out well and who's going to be really happy overseas, is someone who is the things we're describing. You need to be a little brave. You need to be self-reliant, resourceful, persistent. You need a really positive attitude and a sense of humor. And those things are critical for making a new life anywhere new, any new country.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you think would be happiest in Portugal specifically?
I think you need somebody that's relaxed, because it's a very relaxed atmosphere. If you're a type A and you think things should be done a certain way, and this is the only way you can get these things done, and I'm going to show you how to do it, you are not going to fit in here, and you will be shunned. And it's not even subtle. Like even the expat community will shun you, right? Like it's not even the Portuguese. So you have to be able to roll with the punches, be relaxed, and be willing to learn new things. It's the type of thing where you have to be the type of person that says there's more than one way to do something.
Right.
And because they do this in a certain way doesn't mean they do it wrong. You have to kind of be a little bit curious and say, why do they do it this way? Because I will guarantee there is a reason why they do a thing a certain way. And the system works for them. And It might not work for your mindset, but it works for them. And it's the way that they've had to put it together. This country is really only, a functioning democracy for 50 years. It was 1974 when they had the revolution. So there's a lot of holdover from the days of the dictatorship. And so not all the systems are up and running. You're not going to have as many. I don't know. We have like Glovo, which is like DoorDash. So I don't know what people want. Everything you could use just comes to your door. We've got Amazon Spain. It's not that tough a life, but you really have to have the attitude of you don't know everything and you're going to learn something.
All right. Thank you so much, Barbara. You have a great story. You have made for yourself just a lovely life. And you should feel so proud of yourself and so happy with what you've done. It's a great story, very inspirational. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you, everyone, for participating, for listening in. We will be back next month with the next edition of Retired Overseas. Until then, take care. Talk to you soon.